Hey there guys, and welcome to this episode of Gearist TV. On today's show, we're going to be breaking down the Factor ACC cycling shoe from Giro. So over the next several weeks, we're going to be taking a look at a few pairs of cycling shoes that we think you guys ought to check out for your road rides. Now, since the Giro d'Italia just finished this past Sunday, June 1st, with Nairo Quintana taking the win, we thought it would be super appropriate to take a look at the Giro Factor ACC cycling shoe. So let's start breaking this thing down. So when it comes down to the actual power transfer of a bike shoe, surely the stiffness of the outsole has more to do with it than almost anything else in the shoe. However, since the upper of the shoe has more to do with the comfort of the foot than almost anything else, we thought that it would be appropriate to start from the top down and break down the materials and construction of this shoe. So first, the upper is made from Giro's Evo Fiber lightweight microfiber upper. It's got a glossy finish over it, as you can see, which makes it really nice for cleaning off tire marks or chain marks or whatever. I mean, it's just a pretty simple wipe down, and in any event, the most that I've used is a little bit of soap and water and just maybe some Windex from time to time, just to kind of get grease off if you need a chance to break that stuff down. Now, if you're judging by the description of the name of the upper, that Evo Light microfiber material, you might think that it was a little flimsy, but it's not. It's actually quite beefy material, quite robust, and it really flexes with the shoe, actually. It acts like a very, very nice hug to the foot, which we're going to talk about more in the strapping section of this later. Now, one of the great parts about this is that it doesn't, while it works with the foot, it doesn't kind of stretch out over the course of a long day in the saddle. Now, I've had rides up to, I think, 4.5 hours in this shoe, and I've never found myself having to readjust the strap for any reason because I felt it getting too loose or stretching out. I have on occasion, if my feet, if it's particularly hot especially, get a little swollen, it's really easy to adjust down again. We'll talk about that in the strap section. But the fit of the upper is really nice, very consistent, and not at all that traditional microfiber feel as the name might suggest. So don't be fooled by that. Ventilation on the upper is actually quite good as well. There are, you can see here, these fine holes that cover the large majority of the upper, and it's particularly good across the tongue, which I'll try to show you right there. These holes are plenty small to keep out debris, but there's a mesh backing behind them that's going to keep out debris anyway. I think that some of them could be a little bit larger probably to let in a little bit more ventilation, particularly here around the toe box and the forefoot, but it's not something that really stood out to me as being overly hot or anything like that. Now, when it comes to foot comfort, the retention system on a shoe is super, super important. And in this case, Giro's decided from the top down toward the toe to use the MR1 retention system. Now, what this is a ratchet retention system, which I'll show you right here. This slides in here and adjusts simply by folding that up in 2mm increments, making it really easily adaptable to pretty much anyone's foot shape or size. Now, should some swelling or the like take place over the course of a ride, it's really easy with one finger actually to just kind of lean over and to readjust it. If your foot is in this, all you would do if there's, say, tension on this because of your foot, you just reach down, press that guy, and it wouldn't slide all the way out like that, but you can just simply press that and it will come out one tick at a time, depending on how long you hold that down. Now, that's also how you release the shoe to get it off your foot. Really simple to operate, very easily, very intuitive. Now, a great thing about the MR1 retention system is that it's replaceable. So, in this age of people trying to kind of go off drops on their road bikes and things like that, this thing, should it break down, it can easily be replaced. You just call Giro up and they'll hook you up with a new part for this. As we move down the shoe, we can see two additional D-ring closures or clasps that are using hook and loop or Velcro closure systems. Now, what's great about this center one here is you can see if I hold it up like this that it's a little bit offset toward the lateral side. What this is going to do is allow freedom and circulation to flow over the navicular bone, which is this bone that's kind of right in this general area, and keep pressure off of that, because a lot of time people will cinch down their shoes too tightly in that area and they're going to feel undue pressure, which again is also going to cut off circulation to the foot, which ceases foot function. It's going to cause numbness and coldness and hot and all this kind of stuff. So be sure your feet are circulating properly. One of the things that I like most about the strapping on the Factor ACC is that it uses the whole medial side of the shoe to be a part of its strapping. So it's not just a strap laying over the foot. Now, what I mean by that is that you can see here, this is the top strap that we talked about. It comes up fully in single piece, both from the inside and the outside. into the strap, and it goes all the way across the top of the foot. There's no hinge here or anything where there would simply be a strap pulling down the foot, but it's the entire shoe really kind of wrapping over the top of the foot, and I really like that. And they use that down here into the midfoot, into the kind of over the instep there, and as well, even a tiny bit, you may be able to see right there how it comes over that first ray, that the big toe right there, and really hugs the foot from the medial side. So you're not feeling strapped down this way, but you're really feeling it kind of wrap that foot and just kind of hold on to it like that. It's a much more comfortable feeling and really works well if you're in the saddle for a long time. As I mentioned earlier, the outsole of a cycling shoe is really where that power transfer takes place, and that's based off of several factors, probably the most important of which is stiffness. But first, let's talk about the material itself. This is made from Easton's EC90 ACC, which is where the Factor ACC gets its name. It's a unidirectional carbon fiber material. Now, the top shoe in the Giro line is a little bit lighter and uses Giro's SLX carbon fiber. This is a step down from that, but still a really amazing carbon fiber. Now, just so you know the difference in weight, the Factor ACC comes in at 240 grams and the Pro Light comes in at 205 grams in the same size. And just so you know what that equals in ounces, if you can't do the metric to standard conversion like myself, it's about 1.5 ounces. So we're not talking about a lot of weight difference here between this and their top of the line road shoe. A really great part of this outsole is its super low stack height. That's the difference. It would be off the ground, as it were, even though this wouldn't really technically be on the ground very much. And it's only 6.5 millimeters. You can see here from the side, and you can probably see a little bit better on the medial side, how low profile that is. There's seriously not a lot of stack going on. Again, 6.5 millimeters. This is going to keep the weight down, and it's also meant to work with the foot. Probably my most favorite part of this is that this allows for spillover. As you can see here, I'll kind of try to demonstrate. If the shoe is in there and stretches, you can see that the foot is allowed to spill outside the bounds of the outsole. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, quite honestly, it's because the foot does that naturally. When we talk about running shoes all the time, we talk about toe splay and the ability of the foot to land on the ground and spread and to transfer that power and to really feel the ground. In this case, obviously you're not feeling that ground, but since your foot is essentially acting as a lever arm, it's going to really allow you to capitalize on the full foot function, which is going to do a lot in storing potential energy, not necessarily just in the Achilles and the lower leg muscles, but also all the way up through the foot. This is going to allow that foot to function more naturally, just as it would if you were walking, running, or otherwise using your feet. That foot is meant to spread, and this is a really wonderful feature of that. Most often, shoes, cycling shoes, road shoes, mountain shoes, whatever, will kind of wrap that carbon or whatever kind of composite materials on the bottom. It will kind of wrap up and around the edges. Now, in those cases, what winds up happening is that the foot is pushing against that. Not that it can't spread and it can't truly function as a foot, but there's just simply not as much ability for it to splay the way that it might want to as there is in this, where there's a really under the foot outsole, and it doesn't come up and around the edges. It really allows for a free foot function. I really like that about this shoe. Now let's talk a little bit about the fit of the Factor ACC. The first thing is that it fits in terms of sizing right where it should be. I wear a 44.5. That's what this is, and it fits exactly the way that I would expect it to in terms of size. Now for the real aspects of fit. Starting from the rear of the foot, the heel cup is really nicely shaped. Again, it's not a super stiff carbon heel counter or anything like that, and it comes up about halfway of where you would expect it in like a running shoe or something like that. But it is substantial enough to really hold the foot nice and securely, and a really well-shaped heel cup that plays down into the sock liner, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. As we move down the shoe, what's really great is that hugging effect comes over and allows for a more high volume foot. If you've got a higher arch but not necessarily a wide foot, this is going to be a really well adapted shoe to that, because again, that hugging feeling isn't just going to push down on your foot this way, but it's going to allow expansion and contraction from a kind of a holistic, a circumferential, I just made up a word, a circumference, kind of a squeezing all the way around the way that you need it to fit you properly. Now, into the toe box. Most cycling shoes, and I do mean most cycling shoes, have a pretty narrow toe box. That's kind of a standard thing. In the case of the Giro Factor ACC, They've done a really great job with a really well-shaped toe box. I'm not saying that it's comparable to like an Ultra running shoe or something like that, but it's actually quite roomy toe box for a cycling shoe. Additionally, the Factor ACC comes in an H, the Factor ACC HV, which stands for high volume. Now, in that case, the shoe is going to be wider. There's going to be more material to allow for a high volume, more high volume foot, whether it's width or height. And that's a really great aspect. If you find that cycling shoes generally fit you really, really tightly and you just can't get comfortable, maybe a high volume version, again, like they do offer in this, is something that you ought to take a look at. It's still got all the bells and whistles, all the technical aspects, still has that spillover that you're going to want to see, especially if you have a wider foot. It's got all those bells and whistles. It's just in a more generous volume shoe, so that's a really nice aspect of being able to have two options in this. Now let's spend a little bit of time talking about the sockliner. Now, we generally wouldn't do that, but in the case of the Factor ACC, Giro has decided to use its Supernatural Fit Kit. What that means is that this sockliner is specifically shaped to work and maximize the foot's capability to operate as a lever arm, not as a leaf spring, which again, in the case of a running shoe or just running in general, the foot operates like a leaf spring, but in cycling, it needs to operate like a lever arm, and this is meant to optimize that. In the heel, it's got a very low drop heel, as you can see. You may be able to see there. It's kind of difficult to see without actually feeling it, but it's got a very low drop heel that is actually still quite well shaped, so it's going to give you that nice secure feeling back in the heel cup area. You can see how far it comes up, but again, very thin material. You'd be kind of surprised in feeling it. As you move forward, the toe tapers, so it gets narrower toward the toes, which is again going to allow for that proper foot function, that spillover and that splay of toes that you want to see. You may be able to see here, there's a little bit of ventilation hole, which corresponds to a ventilation hole on the bottom of the outsole, so that's a bonus ventilation point there as well. Through the arch, you can see this bright green, yellowish, greenish. You can see this arch piece right here. Now what this is, it comes with three different options with this shoe. Kind of a low, a medium, and then a high arch version. Now, they peel off very easily, just hook and loop. It smacks right on there really, really simply and allows you to adjust for your taste. Now, me personally, I actually have kind of a high arch. It's actually not super high. It's kind of medium high, we'll just say. But I like to use the low arch version because I don't want anything pushing into the bottom of my foot. Not that it pushes, but I don't feel like I need that support. What I do feel like I want is for my foot to really work in the shoe, to be able to splay, to be able to move, and to be able to act like a foot. I have to say that without exaggeration, I've never been anything but comfortable in this fit system with this shoe. It's a really, really wonderful combination, and this fit system, the Supernatural Fit System, is also integrated with X-Static fabric, which means that there is silver woven throughout this. It's antimicrobial, it'll keep the funk off. It's also going to keep any germies out of there for you, but it's not something that's going to wear off over a series of washes or anything like that. It's imbued within the fabric, so that's really awesome. Additionally, the Supernatural Fit Kit is available separately from Giro. You can buy this and put it in whatever shoe you want, even like a running shoe, though keep in mind it is optimized for a cycling shoe. It's available for $50 from Giro. You can just go to Giro.com and it's right there under, I think, the accessories section. So that is available separately, but when you buy the Factor ACC, this comes with it. Speaking about performance as an individual section of this shoe review is kind of difficult because, quite honestly, I've been talking about performance or among the individual factors the entire time. So we'll just kind of sum it up and say that the shoe performs really, really well. And I think a large portion of the reason that I like that so much is because of that foot splay, that spillover, and the fact that this really hugs your foot. So it's not this unnatural thing necessarily that's on your foot while you're riding, but it's something that's really working with the foot, and I really, really appreciate that a lot. So the performance, seriously, 2 thumbs up on that. When it comes to price, the Factor ACC comes in at $300. Now, is this a lot of money for a road shoe? No, not necessarily when you consider that shoes that are its peers are right alongside this. The Pro Light that is a step up from this comes in at $350. But think about what you're getting for that. You're getting a shoe that has a high volume version if you need it. You're also getting something that even in the normal version has a well-shaped toe box and something that allows for really natural foot function. You're also getting a shoe that comes in at 240 grams, which is really nice and light for a road shoe. It's really well functional, super stiffness with that that Easton EC90cc unidirectional carbon fiber on the bottom. a really nice high-end road shoe, easy to clean so you can look slick no matter what you're doing. Comes in this red and white color. It also comes in a black and in a white and black color. Just a really, really solid all-around high-end road shoe. A shoe that you should definitely take a look at. And again, we like to break things down here in terms of cost per mile. Think about what this is going to cost. Even in terms of probably 2 weeks, 1 month of riding. If you ride 300 miles, you've spent $1 per mile on the shoe. Now, of course, we can't break it down with the same sense as a running shoe, but the durability of this is going to be a long, long time, especially when you consider the fact that your retention system can be replaced if it needs to be, and the heel pad can be replaced if they need to be. Then the cleats, obviously, since they don't come with the shoe, can be replaced if they need to be. The shoe is going to take you a long way, and that's something to consider. That yes, it's got a high price tag at $300, but don't balk at that, because again, this is something that you may want to consider to take you for a lot of years down the road. Let's do the ratings here really quickly. First up, material is going to be 4.5 stars. Really well put together, really well built shoe, really like it. For construction, we're going to give it 5 stars. But yeah, I mean, come on. Fit, 4.5 stars. I still really love the way that it hugs the foot and gives a nice toe box for a cycling shoe. Features, 4 stars. Tons of amazing bells and whistles. It could benefit from a little more ventilation in the way of the forefoot area. And performance, 4.5 stars. Just a really solid, well-performing shoe. Our question for you today is, we know that Giro makes helmets and has for years, but did you know they made cycling shoes, and have you tried them? Please leave your comments in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Gearist TV. Give us a thumbs up, a like, and a favorite, and share this video everywhere that you can. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We've got some great promotions coming up, and subscribing is a way to get bonus entries and to know about those contests as soon as they go live so you can get in and get on it. Thank you guys so much for following us on all the social media outlets, Instagram.com/TheGearist, Twitter @TheGearist, Facebook.com/Gearist, YouTube, which you're watching right now, .com/TheGearist, and find us on Google Plus just by searching for Gearist. If you've got any questions or comments about this review or any, please leave them in the comment section below, or go over to Gearist.com, check out the written and video reviews that we've got sitting over there, and ask us a question in the comment section there as well. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.